My name is Anthony Conlin, Performance and Development Manager here at Valley Road School, Sunderland. This is a video to explain the new early years tracking system that we've created, how it works, the concept behind it, and a couple of examples from some of the mark sheets. So back earlier in 2012, DFE released the Development Matters Guidance, and the foundation stage profiles, we knew it came to an end. New information wasn't released on this right until December 2012, and left ongoing assessments up to schools to decide on how they wanted to do that. We created this tracking system back in the summer of 2012, and it was ready to start used by September 2012. So this is the system, and we don't have to tweak it too much based on the new guidance. So what we decided to do was looking at the Development Matters age bands, all the way from 0 to 11 through to achieving the early learning goal. Looked at the age bands and decided that they were quite large in terms of the number of months and the content of each of the age bands, and the fact that they overlapped. So what I decided to do was split each of the age bands into almost like sub-levels at national curriculum sub-levels, kind of like a level 2 being a 2C, 2B and 2A. We split, for example, the 30 to 50 category into 30 to 50 minus, 30 to 50 equals, and 30 to 50 plus. The terminology on here on the minus, equal, plus, whether you use that or emerging, expected or exceeding, a C, a B or an A, doesn't really matter. The point is that the grade itself, the age band, has been split into 3. And what we're not prescribing is how teachers should come to them assessments on whether a child's a minus or an equals. That's professional, up to the teacher in terms of professional judgment. It has nothing to do with how many statements that they've got, or there's no way that we want to prescribe how that should happen. In terms of the age bands, then we have gone all the way as low as 0 to 11, equals, minus, equals, and plus, all the way up to the early learning goal. And what I've done is attach points to each of them grades as such. I'm aware that you're not really supposed to attach points to these, but without doing this, it's hard to measure progress and get starting points, average starting points, and end points, and measure progress in between. So we have attached points. The points aren't national curriculum points, they're just points, and you'll come to see how we use them shortly. In terms of the tracking system, there's 2 versions of it. There's an Excel version, which does from birth to 5. There's also a tracking system within Sims as well, which will do those children eligible for old enough to be on Sims. In terms of expectations then, this was the hardest part in the tracking system, was determining what these should be. And what we've gone for in the end, after consulting with lots of schools, is that at the end of the nursery term, this is your full school nursery term now, the children who are going into reception next year. So for your full nursery, your older children in nursery, at the end of the autumn term, they should be secure within the 30 to 50 age bands, so expected or equals, or whatever terminology you're using there. By the time they get through to the end of the spring term, they should be at the upper part of the 30 to 50 age band, and by the time they end nursery in the summer, they should be just getting into the 40 to 60 age band. And then the reception year, it's 40 to 60 equals at the end of the autumn term, 40 to 60 plus at the end of the spring term, and hopefully and kindly achieving the early learning goal at the end of reception. I have got an early learning goal plus in case any children do manage to achieve the early learning goal earlier than that, so you can still show progress from that, and you can put in assessments as low down as 1 point and 0 to 11 minus, just in case you've got your children starting at particular low places. In terms of the assessment, in the Sims tracking system assessment, we have an entry assessment, which is done whenever the children enter, so whether that be those just within the full 3 nursery terms, or they come into reception, or whether it be the ones who've just gone 3, you would make an assessment, and there's no expectation applied to that. And then for nursery, at the end of the autumn and the spring and the summer term, you then make another assessment, and for those who are in the full 3 terms of nursery at that point, the expectation as below is that, and that's where it's come from. And in reception, there's also an entry assessment there as well, just in case the children didn't go to your nursery, or the nursery end assessment might be different from the entry reception. that is available to put in there, and then assessments at the end of each term as well. Okay, so how that actually works then, if I come into one of the mark sheets, and this is the Sims version of it, we're going to go into focus, assessment, and mark sheet entry. I'm going to search for VREY. This will bring up the early years mark sheets. There's an awful lot of them. There's a couple of reasons for that. There's 17 areas, and I've created a lot of additional mark sheets that I'll come to later. There's also a separate video for one of them. But for now, we'll just look at the entry, how you would do an entry assessment. So I'm going to open this mark sheet here called VREY Nursery Assessment 1 Entry. And this is for the curriculum year N2. The N2 are the older children in nursery, those are in the full 3 terms of nursery. The N1 assessment is the children who've just gone 3, who are the younger ones, who are spending more time in nursery but aren't in the same cohort as the older ones. Okay, so you double click on that. At the moment I've only put in 4 assessments for 4 children's assessments. So what we've got in here, I'm just going to press calculate. What we've got in here is the names of the children, we've got the date of births, the age that they're currently at, that will be today as opposed to when the assessment went in, and importantly the admission date. This field here can be used to put in the number of terms that they're expected to be in nursery, so whether that be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is used later on in terms of the analysis to show, well, hopefully show the longer they're in the nursery, the more progress they make and higher ability they are. And this field here will show you the current age in months that they are, so this is years and months, and this is just total months as well. And this will record and stamp that in the background. In terms of the assessments themselves, you can see from the previous grid in here, that's the assessments to choose from, and again not prescribed anywhere by us. So in this example here, Tamwa for, sorry I didn't say these, each of the 17 areas across here for the development matters. You don't necessarily need to do them all, we are in our school, but you can do what you want. These are the 3 PSE ones, so making relationship, self-confidence and self-awareness, I think, and managing feelings and behaviour. So for Tamwa, he's been assessed at 22 to 36 plus, so exceeding in the 22 to 36 category, whereas Harvey is at the lower end of the 30 to 50 age development band there, and so on and so forth. And the rest of the assessments have been made. The important bit with this is when you click the summary button, what it will give you, and this would be your entry into nursery, it would give you average starting point. So in this example, for the 4 bits of information I've entered, the average starting point would be about 11.8-ish, which would only put you roughly in the 22 to 36. So what you can say is, the average entry of the ages would be about 46 months, but the actual ability of these children is much lower or higher depending on what your information is showing. You do that for each of the areas and you get that starting point, and then that's good. And from that you can filter further, things that you can do in all the other mark sheets. You can right click and bring on the additional factors, things like your genders, and you send if you've recorded it in your system for emails if you've managed to get hold of that information. And when you filter by them, the information below down there would change, and you can even filter by the number of terms in nursery. So I've just got 1 child in there at the moment, so you can see what we're doing with that. You can right click on each of these columns and get a grade distribution. So all I did there was right click on whatever column I want to do. So if I wanted making relationships, right click and left click on show grade distribution. And this is now summarised what grades we've got each, and give me a percentage, or if you want a count you can change it to count. And you can get a graph to show that. Obviously I've only got 4 children's data entered. You will have a lot more information than that and it will look much better. So that's how you do your entry assessments, whether that be N2 or any of the younger ones that have come into N1. I've only put 1 child in there for the moment. And when them children come to the point of when they've got to the end of the autumn term, you need to make your next assessment. So to do that you need to scroll down a bit further and get down to the mark sheets which start like this. VR space EY nursery A1, and this is just a coded system to keep them in the right order, the same as the development matters bandings. And this is your PSE making relationships. So in the autumn assessment and the spring and the summer, in fact, instead of having all 17 areas on 1 mark sheet, we've gone into the 17 areas separately, and when I open the mark sheet it become clear why. This is because we're going to put in the autumn, the spring and the summer assessments all on one page, and we're going to measure against an expectation, and you'll want to see changes over time. So it makes much more sense to, instead of having all 17 on the same page and having 4 pages of 17, it's best to have 17 pages of 3 and see the progression in there. Obviously you couldn't have them all on the same mark sheet. I could, but it would be ridiculous. So in here you can see what the entry assessment was, what the next assessment was in there, what that's like against the expectation in terms of being below, that's above, and if I make somebody at the expectation, 3250 equals, at this time now, at the expectation. The 1 and 0 at the indication columns, 0 is showing that they're behind the expectation, and a 1 means they're at or above the expectation. And the average of that down there would give you a percentage, so 40% of the children in that group are currently at expectation. And you can then monitor as you put your further information in how that works. So in a nutshell, that's how it works in terms of the nursery entry. In terms of reception, it works similar. This time you don't do your reception entry in the same way that you do your nursery entry. We're still separate in the 17 areas. This is because they're all joining at the same time. It makes more sense to keep it the same as this as well. So in here, if you do happen to have it, you would have the nursery entry and exit, then your reception entry, and then your reception autumn, spring and summer information in there. Okay, and again for all 17 areas. Okay, the final thing I want to mention on early years, there'll be a separate video on the analysis of and how we use some of the analysis tools. But one thing I have created, although I said we don't prescribe how you should come to your assessments in terms of the number of statements, meaning to minus and equals or a plus, we have provided a mark sheet in there which actually does list the individual statements. So some of these mark sheets here are VR space EYZ, A1 PSE, all making relationships, but for reception, the younger and the older children in nursery. And when you're in there, I was doing narrow and calculate. These are the actual start to the statements from the development matters bands. So you could potentially use this to start recording where children have achieved certain elements in there. And what that will do is, firstly, it'll count how many each children's got, but more usefully, it'll show you where your gaps are. So say, for example, you had lots of information, but suddenly one of the particular areas maybe wasn't being taught as well, you would have a big gap in there in terms of the calculation. You'd know that that was only 4 out of whatever. So that might be quite useful as well. I'll probably provide more detailed guidance on how to use this at a different time. Thank you.